Welcome, folks, back to West Coast Media Solutions. And as promised, I said I would come back with a video after I did the video talking about why we decided to pivot away from Belize and sell the land that I had purchased back in 2019 in Belize and purchase in Africa. And I talked about that I would come back with another video discussing why we chose Kenya. So this is that video as promised. I had wanted my other half to be in the video, but he's not really keen on being on camera. He said that at some point he will do some videos with me, but right now he's not really Troy. So I'm going to let him basically do most of the talking because he's been living there for over a decade. And then I will stop at different points and give my input or my perspective. All right, so here we go. And let's see.
Man in the world, yo. He needs his own commercial. But today we want to talk.
I'm blessed to be on for a second. I'm blessed to be with my man Bobby, who be on them streets, getting that information from people, bro. I be seeing you, my man. You be getting it in. So it's a blessing to be here on your show.
I appreciate it. And today we're gonna talk about retiring in Kenya, like my favorite country. And obviously, it's your favorite country because you've been here for 10 years. How do you feel about retiring in Kenya?
I personally believe, now I've lived around the States in a bunch of different cities. I've lived in London. I believe, and I've been blessed to travel the world. I believe that Nairobi, Kenya is the best place in the world to live in regards to quality of life for a black person. I'm only speaking for black folks. Just the quality of life is unbelievable. And the people are unbelievable. And it's very technological country. Everything works here.
Yes.
Electric's on, water works, the Wi-Fi is everywhere. Great hotels, great clubs, great bars, great restaurants, great lounges, great places to stay. You go on Airbnb in Nairobi and you would feel like you might be in Miami somewhere in some of the spots like that you can rent. Some of the homes are better than the homes I've seen in the Hamptons or Martha's Vineyard or LA or Florida, like just beautiful homes that you can rent, or buy. And it's low stress here.
I can attest to everything that he is saying. I've been to Kenya twice now. The first time we went was back in April of 2024. And then I went again in November of last year as well. When I went in November, my husband stayed at home and I took my dad with me. So that was my dad's first time ever going to the continent, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. He had an awesome time, and he can't wait to go back. So everything that he's saying in terms of the environment there, the people, is all true. I can attest to it. I experienced it firsthand.
regards to you're not always looking over your shoulder thinking somebody's trying to get you.
Yeah.
Like in other African countries or even places in the States. I like to say here.
Um, it's not their video, it's my Wi-Fi. I hate when that happens, but unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it. I apologize, you guys, that the video is acting up.
I can run at 75% and it works. I don't have to be 100% all the time here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like in Kenya, you can really just kind of let your guard down.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of places where people want to retire, they might be cheap, but you're worried about so many other things.
Right.
Like, so how would you compare the cost of living like for you retiring here versus retiring in America for the same lifestyle?
I like to say Kenya is in between like Raleigh and Charlotte, like the cost of living.
Now, he uses Raleigh and Charlotte because he's very familiar with those areas. I personally have never been to Raleigh or Charlotte. I've never been to the Carolinas. So, and maybe some of you guys have never been to the Carolinas. So maybe you don't quite relate to that analogy of his. I have lived in 8 other states. And I currently live in Louisiana. I'm from California, so obviously, I was born and raised in California. I'm very, very familiar with California prices. I also, before I moved to Louisiana almost 6 years ago, I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada for 11 years. I've also lived in Arizona for about 2 years. And then in college, I did my internship at the White House, and I lived in Arlington, Virginia. That was, 30 years ago, but I did live there for about four months. And then as a child, I lived in the state of Oregon, briefly for a very, very short period of time, the state of Washington. I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 2 years, and Little Rock, Arkansas for a year. But those, of course, when I was a small kid. As far as a comparison, that maybe you guys are, most of you guys would be more familiar with in terms of cost of living, I would equate it to, it's pretty affordable for a lot of things in the South, in the southern states, which the Carolinas are, southern states. But like, for instance, right now, ever since, inflation has really run amok here in the States, let's just say prior to inflation, we were probably spending about maybe 500 to maybe $600 a month for food for 2 people. We try to eat pretty healthy. We try to buy non-GMO fruits and vegetables, as well as non-GMO meats and dairy products. We don't really buy a lot of packaged foods, per se. We try to stay basically, for the most part, on the outer aisles of the grocery store. And on the outer aisles is going to be, fruits and vegetables and meat and dairy. For the most part, it's going to be the outer aisles of the grocery store. When we were in Kenya back in April, we did go to the grocery store, and we went to the grocery store when I went in November as well. But and we got my dad and we got some fruit, we got some flavored water, we got some nuts, and we got some eggs, and we got some fresh banana bread. and we also got some beef bacon. And all of that was probably, if I recall, maybe around 60, $70 or something like that. We ended up not even eating all of the fruit that we bought. Um, and I purposely had to make an effort to cook all of the bacon up and all of the eggs. Um, so yeah, I mean, the food is very inexpensive there compared to the U.S. Here now in the U.S., it's nothing. Like I went to the store earlier today, and got some stuff from Albertsons, and it was about $200. So it's nothing for me to go to the grocery store here in the States and spend $200, and that stuff will only last us about a week. And then I'm having to go back. So now we're spending about $200 a week for two people and our dogs. We breed dogs. That's one of our side hustles is dog breeding, our toy poodles. And we try to feed them healthy, pretty healthy as well. And so it's nothing for us to go to the store and spend at least $200 a week now for two people and a couple of little dogs. So the food and it's the food is not a good quality here in the States. Even if which we don't have a Whole Foods here where I live, but even if we did, have a Whole Foods, and the food is still not as good here in the States as it is in Kenya. And he's going to explain a little bit more in depth the awesome benefits of the food being non-GMO in Kenya. They do have, don't get me wrong, they do have prepackaged stuff there as well. But by and large, even their prepackaged stuff, you'll flip the back of the bag or the jar or whatever, and it's not going to have a whole list of chemicals and ingredients because a lot of ingredients or chemicals, I should say, in food like substances that are allowed here in the States is banned in
the whole bit. But the thing that gets you over here that helps a lot in regards to your quality of life is having somebody to be able to cook and clean for you, 5 to 7 days a week or 3 days a week, whatever you need. That's very cheap. Like 10 years ago, we had a nanny in Harlem. We had 2 kids, and we were paying $450 a week for a nanny to only work she'd pick the kids up at 3 o'clock and she'd leave the crib like 7:38, 5 days a week. So we were paying close to $2,000 a month for a nanny 10 years ago.
That's insane.
When we came to Kenya and we had a live-in nanny, we paid $250. Now this was 10 years ago. Price may have gone up a little bit, but we paid $250 a month for her to cook and clean.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to with moving over to Kenya is living a soft life, living a life of leisure. Uh, I'm really not big on cooking. I just made a little short about that the other day. And those who know me, including my daughters, they will attest that I am not a big fan of cooking. I've done more cooking since I've been down here in the South than I ever have in my life. But oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of cooking. I do it because we can't afford to eat out every day. But if I could afford to eat out every day here in the States, I probably would, just to not have to cook, as much as what I have to do. So yeah, he is 100% spot on when it comes to being able to afford over there a chef or a nanny or whatever. We're not going to need a nanny, but we definitely will be hiring a chef. My dad and I met a local Kenyan, and she basically confirmed exactly what Troy is saying in terms of the cost for a nanny. And he's talking 10 years ago, and the prices aren't that much more now, 10 years later, for a nanny or a chef.
5 days a week. And she could cook, like cook, and clean her butt off. Beautiful woman, Mary, like she's unbelievable woman. But you can get that here, and that helps in your quality of life. When you don't have to, when someone says to you, Mr. Bobby, do you want your protein shake in the morning, or do you want your eggs and bacon? That's kind of dope. And what time are you coming downstairs? Like, it's just kind of hot.
That is amazing.
It's like literally living in a hotel, and you're at home, and I love that. I love that here.
Yeah, that's why I try to tell people about coming back to Kenya specifically, like the cost of services, like even from like around the world, having like a live-in maid / nanny, having a personal cook, having a trainer, you're paying like pennies on a dollar. And especially for people who's older and trying to look for retirement, like you don't want to be cooking 24/7. You want to just chill. Like you want to probably go to a safari, or you just want to wake up and eat your breakfast. So that is perfect for people who want to come out here that's older.
Even a driver. Like when my family was here, we had a driver, and I think we were paying him $250, $275 a month to have access.
Sorry guys for all the moving around.
To drive us around.
I just want to stop it there for a second. Apologize to you guys moving around. I'm just trying to get comfortable. Definitely I'm looking forward to a driver, a housekeeper. If I have to choose between cooking and cleaning, I'll choose cleaning. I'd rather clean than cook. But if I can go somewhere and be able to live a good life and I don't have to do those things, then hell yeah, I'm all for it. So that's another thing that, we're definitely looking forward to. We will have a housekeeper because we're, as some of you may know that follow us, but some of you guys may not know that don't follow me, that we are building a mini Airbnb resort in Kenya. And so we're going to have a housekeeping, obviously, for our Airbnb cottages, but also they will be cleaning our house too as well. So definitely looking forward to that. And it's very, very affordable to have a housekeeper, a chef, and a driver. And you really kind of need a driver in Kenya because they drive crazy as hell. Okay? Crazy as hell. Our project manager, my dad asked him, he was like, it seemed like, you guys don't really necessarily always stop at a stoplight or whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, it's we kind of treat it more like it's a suggestion. So I was like, what? Although we didn't really see a whole lot of accidents, surprisingly, with as crazy as they drive. But yeah. So and the fact that they do drive on the opposite side than we do, that's going to take some getting used to as it is. In addition to their crazy ass driving, especially the bodas, which are the guys that ride on the motorcycles. You can get a boda through the Uber app. It's the most inexpensive way to one of the most inexpensive ways to travel in Kenya. In Nairobi is a boda, but yeah, they weave in and out of traffic, which they get you out of traffic real fast. But you know, you really got to be brave to do a boda. We just ain't that brave yet. So we will be getting a driver once we get there and we purchase a vehicle, because driving on the opposite side, yeah, not interested in doing that, at least not right away.
5 to 7 days a week, depending upon what we needed. So if you got kids and you're at work, the driver takes the kids to their sporting events, or birthday parties, or whatever you need. Imagine paying somebody or pick up groceries for you, like $250, $300 a month to have somebody do all that stuff for you. Like quality of life. Again, like all that stuff you don't really even have to think about. It's just done, which is dope.
Yeah, you could literally automate your life. But I know a big concern with people who are close to retirement or thinking about retirement is healthcare. And you've been here for 10 years. I'm pretty sure you have experiences of going, like, seeing a doctor. How is Kenya's healthcare?
So, man, don't even get me started with the ridiculousness of I don't even like to call it healthcare, because it's not really healthcare here in the States, as we all know that are in the States. It's really sick care, and it's just getting more and more expensive every freaking year. I'm a federal employee, and so we just had open enrollment last month, and they increased our healthcare costs by over 13%. 13%, yeah. But our cost of living was not even 3%, I don't think, this year. So I don't think it was even going to be 3%. So, it's beyond ridiculous how much we're paying for insurance. And then here in my state, in Louisiana, all insurances are ridiculous. Homeowners insurance, health insurance, car insurance, it's all ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's another big thing that we're looking forward to, not having to deal with the high cost of all insurances that we're dealing with now, especially the healthcare. Health insurance is just utterly ridiculous. It's so affordable. Like you could even get away with, probably not necessarily, if you're pretty healthy, not necessarily even having to rush out and get health insurance in Kenya, because most minor things in office visits are not expensive at all, and you can afford to, for the average American, pay out of pocket for.
Great doctors here. It's a gang of really good hospitals here. Healthcare here is literally, I'll give you a good comparison. God bless you, Mark. One of my boys died last August. Last year. Very fit, Mark Anderson. Rode his bike 5 days a week, worked out 5 days a week. Same age as me. Actually, Mark was a year older, so he's 60. He died. He had a heart attack in his sleep. So all of his friends got scared. Was like, oh, let's go get a stress test. So when I was in the States, I went, got a stress test. Then the guy was like, I see a little abnormality when your heart gets past like 170 beats a minute. You need to go get your heart scanned. So I was like, so how much is that gonna cost? And my insurance covers me here. He was like, well, if you get it right away, I think that he was quoting me like $4,000. But if you wait until like next week or the week after, it might cost you like $2,500, $3,000. And I was like, nah, I'm good on that. I'll wait. And he was literally trying to like scare me into like, you need to get this done now. And I was like, damn, I've been working out all week. I'm good. Like, I eat healthy. And I actually ate a lot healthier than my boy Mark did. And I take a ton of vitamins and herbs. So I was like, I think I'll be good until I get back to Kenya. Cost me $300 to get scanned here.
$300,
dude.
So
300. Even medication here is damn near 2%, 2 to 5% the cost of medication in the States.
Yeah. That's one thing that people don't understand is like Kenya is really, really rising, and medical tourism is one of the big industries that's growing in Kenya, because like they're number 2 right now in Africa, of all of Africa. They're only after South Africa. So they're coming up here, and like I have went to the doctor in Kenya before. It was literally like, it felt like it was damn near free. How cheap it was. Like I think I paid like $25, $30 for like a checkup or something like that.
My yearly full body checkup, I think might cost me $75 to $100.
Yeah, and that includes what?
Everything. Like just
See, it just irks my soul that we pay as much as what we pay, because I mean they're talking full body scans, a full complete checkup, and I'm sure that includes lab work and all of that stuff, for less than $100. Our freaking copay is more than that. It's just insane. Of course, we do have a PPO with the high deductible, but that's the only thing, that's what we can afford, and that's well over $200 that comes out of my check per pay period. So we're spending well over $500 a month for health insurance. It's ridiculous, and then still have to come out the pocket hundreds of dollars when we go to the doctor, which we hardly ever go. Maybe for an annual physical or something like that, or if on those rare occasions where we feel sick or something, but that's not too often. And you get a bill for hundreds of dollars, even though you're already paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month for the freaking insurance. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So just another thing of why we are looking forward to moving to Kenya.
MRIs,
everything, everything. $75 to $100.
Yeah.
And it's at a reputable, really nice, new, dope ass spot. They got all the high tech stuff there. So yeah, if you old and you tired of your medical bills, come to Kenya.
Okay, so yeah. As far as like, because you've been here for a while.
Hold on, can I slide this in?
Go ahead.
Even over medical bills, because of the quality of life and because of the food here and the air here and the less stress here and living like a human being and not living like carrying the weight of being a black man or a black woman, that's good for your health. Not eating GMO foods, it's good for your health. Everything here is organic.
Yes, speak on that. Yeah.
Let me just interrupt for a minute and just speak on what he just talked about in terms of everything being better for your health there, from the air to the food, just everything. And we tried to warn my dad. We told him that you're not going to eat as much over there. You're going to get full. And the reason why is because the food is non-organic or non-GMO. I'm sorry, correction. It's GMO. It is organic. And it still is very nutrient rich, nutrient dense. So you don't have to consume a lot of it in order to feel satiated. And that's exactly what happened when we went over there. My dad usually eats a lot, and he and he's a snacker. He typically eats all day long, and he gets up in the middle of the night eating and stuff like that when he's at home. But when he was over there, he wasn't doing that. We were barely eating one meal a day. And because the food is so nutrient dense, that you consume very little and you get full pretty quick. Even eating, like, typically here in the States, when you eat, or at least I know with me, and with a lot of people, when they eat seafood like fish and stuff like that, because seafood like fish and stuff is pretty light. Maybe about 30 minutes after you eat some fish, you want to eat again, because it doesn't stick with you. For some whatever reason, the seafood over there, the fish and shrimp and stuff like that, it still has a lot of the nutrients and stuff in it. So, like, you eat it over there and you're good. You have fish for dinner and you're good to go, for the rest of the evening. You're not craving to want to eat, something else. Another thing that I notice about when it comes to the food over there is that, compared to over here, back at home, is that usually I want to have some type of dessert a lot of times after I eat. Over there, and my dad, he has a big sweet tooth as well. But over there, we hardly even had dessert, after we ate and stuff. So that's another thing, is that over here they allow the manufacturers and whatnot to put a lot of addictive additives into our food, which just makes you want to crave more of it. But over there, they don't do that, so you don't have all this constant cravings, which the cravings come from parasites. And so you have less parasites. I mean, everybody has parasites, all around the world. But it's just a matter of to what degree. And it seems like here in the States, we have it to a very extreme degree, because because of all the crap they put in our food, all the sugar, artificial sweeteners and stuff like that, which just makes you crave more and more and more. And those artificial sweeteners and stuff, they actually feed the parasites. Parasites feed off of that. And so that's why you're constantly wanting to, snack on junk and stuff, because, the parasites are like, sending the signal up to through your stomach up to your brain, saying, you're still hungry, or you just doing like mindless eating and stuff like that. Over there, you don't have that. So you don't do a lot of that mindless eating, and you'll start to just lose weight, like, naturally. Like, I think my dad and I probably lost between 5 to 10 pounds without even trying over there. Of course, as soon as you come back home and you go back to eating, the American food, then, of course, the weight comes back. But while you're over there, you do get sort of a reprieve. Your body gets a reprieve. Okay, internet's acting up again, guys. Sorry about that. I think he just sort of elaborates more on
Meat. If you eat a chicken, a pig, a cow, it was living a day or two ago.
Yeah.
You're eating some fish, it was in the ocean, it was swimming a day or two ago. Like, everything is fresh here. And that's good for your mind, body, spirit, and soul. My mom is 79. When I brought her here 5 months ago, she came here in June. So maybe it was 5-6 months ago. When she came, blood pressure was up. She's living in North Carolina. Blood pressure was up. She had swelling in her knees, swelling in her ankles, all that black shit. After 3 months of being here, blood pressure down, no swelling at all. I could afford to get her a trainer 4 days a week. She's eating healthy. She looks good. She's lost 20 pounds since June. She's in her best health that she's been like since she's in her 40s.
Wow.
And she only been here for like 6 months. That's what Kenya can do to you. I look better and I'm more healthier now at 59 than I was at 40. And it's that American living, like that stress, that energy, that carrying around your blackness every second of the day as soon as you step out the house. You know, that shit's heavy. And it weighs on you in all kinds of ways that we don't even really know because we just used to it. Eating that GMO food, you know, that stuff is horrible for you. Your health starts from your gut. If your gut ain't right, your health ain't gonna be right.
Yeah, that's right. Because, like, even me, if I go back to the States right now, I will put on 10 pounds.
See, that's crazy you say
weeks.
that, and you're young.
Yeah.
So I figure you streamline, so I couldn't see you picking up weight like that. Me, it's 5 pounds a month. If I'm there for a month, I pick up 5 pounds. I'm there for 2 months. One time I was there for 3 months, I picked up 15 pounds. And my diet was the same as my diet here. The only thing that's different, I might eat a little bit more ice cream when I'm in the States. And when I'm in Philly, I always have a cheesesteak or hoagie. But that's not enough to put on 15 damn pounds. It's the food.
Yeah, it's literally the food. Because, yeah, when I came to Kenya, I lost 10 pounds. Like, it's...
Wow.
So, yeah, we had to move around a little bit. We had some outside disturbances.
Some babies making noise.
Yeah, but...
Bobby was like, I can't have this.
Nah, people gotta get all this information because this man be dropping gems, though.
Nah, thanks, boss.
So we were talking about visa options for retirement, and you said there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different visas. Kenya has damn near about 7, 8 different visa options you could have. Whether or not it's a work permit, they even have a retirement visa, and I have a person that handles all that stuff for me and any of my people coming in. So
Yes, he is correct. They do have multiple different types of visas that you can get. Work permits is one of them, different types of businesses, nonprofits, one for like if you have a religious organization. They just rolled out a nomad visa, digital nomad visa. Their retirement visa is 35. You got to be at least 35 years of age and have proof of income of at least, I think it's $2,000 a month. It's either 2,000 or 2,400, one of the two. I forget which one it is. And it has to come from a retirement source like Social Security, which you wouldn't have Social Security at 35 unless you're disabled, 100% disabled. But it would have to be from sources like Social Security, a pension, or something of that nature. It can't be from working, because if you're retired, right? So how can you be retired and working? you know, so it would have to be something of of that nature. If you're gonna do some type of business, let's say like husbandry, which is farming animals, then you would need to it's a higher fee. I want to say it's like 250,000 Kenya shillings, which you'd have to do the conversion on that because I don't remember what the conversion to USD would be right now. But and if you're going to do a business type of visa, then you can't work in your business. You'd have to. The whole purpose of the business visa is for you to hire local Kenyans to actually work in the business. But there's ways to get around it or whatnot. And he said that he has a person, and his person is actually an American. We have a person as well, and he's actually Kenyan. So, I mean, you can reach out to Troy. I think his contact information is in Kid Greatness video. But also, if you wanted to actually work with a local Kenyan who works directly with the immigration department, you can reach out to me and just comment in the comment section with your email, and then I will, get in touch with you through email, and then we can, get on the phone and exchange phone numbers or whatever, and I'll give you my person's contact information. Uh, but as far as like to just go visit, which I would highly recommend that you do first, that's easy. Don't get your visa, your ETA. It's called an ETA. They basically, the president over there, he claimed that he was doing away with visas, but it's still, they're just not calling it a visa, but it's still a freaking visa. Um, and it's a lot cheaper if you go directly to the Kenyan government's website, and all you gotta do is Google, ETA visa for Kenya, and then it'll pop up, and their government website is going to end in gov. I think it's ke and then .gov or something like that. You go directly through there. Don't make the mistake that we made when we first went in April. We went through our airline third-party website that it directed us to, and we paid way too much for our visas, or one-time entry visas. I think we paid like 70 something dollars per person. Whereas if we would have went directly to the immigration department website in Kenya, it would have only been, well, you can do it online. It would have only been probably like 20, 30 bucks tops or something like that. And then this time when I went in November, instead of doing the one-time visa, I did the 5-year multi-entry visa. And that was like, with tax and everything, I think it came up to about 170 something or something like that. So, and with that, I can go, back and forth to Kenya for the next 5 years, stay for a maximum of 90 days each time. And then if I wanted to stay longer, what I would have to do is leave Kenya, and I can leave Kenya. I only have to leave Kenya for a day. So I could just go over to Tanzania, which is right next to it, or Uganda, which is right next to it, or something like that for the day, and then come back the next day, and the 90 days starts all over again. So we'll let Troy continue.
Any questions or whatever like that, just Bobby will put my information in his
In the description.
yeah, and hit me up, and I'll turn you on to my person. And she's American and she lives here, and that's her job. She handles all visas.
Yes. So that link will be in the description and on the first pinned comment. But yeah, for people who's never been to Africa and they're thinking about retiring, how do you think about the cultural differences of like America, the cultural difference of Kenya? Like,
that's a damn good question. I'm gonna tell you why. Because most black folks have roots in the South. Now, whether or not you spent time in the South or not, then that's on you. But if you spent time in the South, I think the South has more cultural similarities to Kenya or many African countries, because they've kept a lot of traditions and vibes and energy, more so than people who live in, the North or the West Coast. And I just see a lot of cultural similarities in between the South and Kenya. But it makes sense, because all African Americans basically were in the South.
And I agree with him on that, because one of the things that we saw when we went back in April, my husband and I, and we were just walking around. I think that first Airbnb we stayed in, I want to say it was in Westlands. And one of the things we saw among the street vendors was several people um, peeling or chopping off the outer. I don't want to call it a shell because it's not really a shell, but um, the outer part of the stalk of sugarcane, and they just eat the sugarcane just like that. And that's what they used to do when my mom was growing up here in Louisiana, and even when we used to come here to visit family and stuff when I was a kid, that we were eating. They showed us how to eat the sugar cane, stuff like that. And that was their snack or their treat when my mom was growing up, was crunching on some sugar cane. And they do it. They do it even now to this day in Kenya. So there's a lot of similarities. I thought that was pretty cool. I couldn't wait till when we got back to tell her, tell my mom, like, they eat sugar cane over there. Those are our people, our distant cousins or whatever. And my internet is deciding to act up again. But he's going to, I think he's going to get into safety over there. So let's see if I can get this thing now.
When we first came from Africa. So, and that's the biggest part of migration in regards to black folks moving out throughout the U.S. They were all in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, parts of Florida.
I think I want to skip it over to when he starts talking about the safety aspect. Come on. And this is why I say, coming to the South has
Don't
been
worry about somebody's
good.
gonna jack.
Let me just talk about that a little bit. Coming to the South has been a good transition. So if you are on the West Coast or the East Coast, and you decide you do want to move, over, whether it's to the continent or whether it's, down to Mexico or somewhere in South America or whatever, I'll just say a non-Western country. Um, do yourself a favor and move down to the South first of the U.S. before you do that, so you can really get a dose of what it's like to have your internet go out sometimes, have your power go down sometimes, have people move at a slower pace, and not necessarily always rushing or in a hurry, not necessarily being money motivated to provide you with services or whatever, because I'm telling you, it's very similar. The mentality in terms of we call it CPT, color people time. They call it Kenya time. so, so they're typically not in a hurry to do things. And they'll tell you, oh yeah, I can do that, or yeah, they'll say yes, but the whole time knowing that they're not going to be there at the agreed upon time. They're going to show up, a couple hours late or whatever. It could be a huge shock if you always lived on the West Coast or the East Coast, where it's much more, the time is a time is a time. Whereas, and you got to develop patience. That's just what it is. You just got to develop patience.
Me.
Right.
How do you feel about safety concerns in Kenya?
I always say, like, I feel safer here than I do when I go back home. The worst thing that can happen to you here is somebody might steal your phone.
Yeah.
And that's just you being ignorant by having your window rolled down, You're on your phone, you're on an iPhone, somebody might snatch that joint. That can happen anywhere. But that's the worst that can happen to you. There are not a lot of guns in the city, like on the streets, so you don't really have to worry about gun violence. You just, as in anywhere, most black people.
I totally agree with him in terms of safety. We never felt unsafe. I never felt unsafe the whole time I was in Kenya, both times. I will say, though, I felt the safest when we went to Rwanda. And because Rwanda is a military rule country, and they, because of the genocide that took place back in 1994, they are extremely serious about their security in Rwanda. I felt 100% safe in Rwanda. Um, I felt like if we would have been in, we stayed in a hotel in Rwanda, but I felt like if we would have been in an apartment or a house or something like that, like I literally felt like I could leave my doors open. There was a time years ago in the US, especially down in the South, where you could do that. And there's still some people that do it now down here in the South. I wouldn't do it because people are just crazy, these days. But there used to be a time here in the US when I was a kid that you could leave your doors open and not have to worry about somebody, trying to break into your house or anything like that. In Rwanda, I felt that. I felt like, if we could have left our doors open and nobody would have done anything to us. And for the most part, yeah, I pretty much felt that way in Kenya. I didn't feel like that my life or safety or well-being was ever in any danger or anything like that. So, and it's only a gun culture here in the US, but in other parts of the world, there's not that gun culture. So you don't have to be constantly concerned for your safety. Does and now he says that the worst thing that could happen is your phone gets stolen. I wouldn't go that far and say that, because then that would allude to or make it seem like they have no crime except for petty theft. And we know that's not true. They do have murder and rape and domestic violence and all that type of stuff. It's just not as prevalent, and it's not as often like here in the States. You don't have people walking around packing, a gun unless they're police or military over there. So it does feel a lot safer.
Come from a hood or some sort of hood in the States. So you're always taught to keep your eyes open everywhere you go. You're not walking around, with your head all in the sky, looking at the buildings and, unaware of your surroundings. We're all taught to be aware of your surroundings. So if you carry that here, you're fine, but you don't really have to worry about things here, like in other African countries or other countries in other cities in the States, where you always have to be on point, because every turn somebody trying to get you. Like, that's not here. Everybody's not trying to get you here. The woman is cleaning your spot, she ain't trying to really get you. Your Uber driver ain't really trying to get you. The lady that's serving your food at the restaurant, she ain't trying to get you. When you out at the club, you've been to clubs here.
Yes.
A lot of drunk people, but things run smooth. Ain't nobody trying to set you up, and take advantage of you. Oh, that's the American, let's set him up. I still keep my one eye open, my hood eye open at all times. That's just in me to do that. But I feel really relaxed everywhere I go. And safety here as a retiree or non-retiree, it's very, very safe. Come on, man, you go around, you out 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, going from club to this restaurant to that spot, and it's safe.
Yeah.
You really, but just walk like you know where you're going, like black people normally do, and have a purpose and keep one eye open at all times. You're good.
Yeah, this is like one of the safest countries I've been to, and I've been over 20 countries. And like, I'm talking about like I'm outside the tourist areas. Like I walked
Right.
around Zinneman,
Yeah,
and
you
I
go places.
yeah, like I've been around places where you're never gonna go,
Right.
and I never felt
Right.
like my life was in danger.
Mhm.
People were more trying to take care of me, like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" And that's one of the things I love about Kenya. They're so welcoming to people. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like they're trying to get you. It's kind of like they're trying to get you like welcome home.
Right.
And like, are you?
And I agree. And they will tell you that, they will tell you, uh, karibu, which means welcome, they say karibu, my sister, karibu, my brother. And they really mean it. It's not or at least it doesn't feel like that it's game, or they're trying to run game, or trying to, set you up for some kind of scam or something like that. No, they really do mean it. It's genuine, and we got nothing but nothing but love and good vibes when we were there. I mean, and my dad is the more of a people person that you are, the better your experience is going to be. But if you go over there, or anywhere for that matter, uh, in my opinion, if you go anywhere and you have a standoffish, arrogant um, attitude, well, you're going to get a lot of that back in return. You're going to draw that type of energy to you. So, but for the most part, I completely 100% agree with them. Um, it's a lot of love. They welcome you. They embrace you with open arms. Uh, it felt kind of weird the first time when we went over there, because it was like, for the first time in our lives, we were in the majority. Now, that's controversial because I got my own suspicions in terms of being labeled as a minority, even here in the States. But that's another conversation for a different day. But at any rate, we are, definitely in the majority over there. And so it felt really weird uh, initially, from that standpoint. They are very keen and astute to, because of the internet and stuff like that, to American way of life and stuff. Of course, you know a lot of them think that it's all peaches and cream. They think it's all sunshine and roses, and they'll ask you a lot of questions because they're genuinely curious. They want to know, and so you just have a conversation, with different people, and you just, let them know, like, no, it's not all peaches and cream. Yeah, our standard of living is higher than you guys's, but we pay a lot of taxes. When you start telling them, like, yeah, we make a lot more money on average than you guys do on average. However, things cost. Are going to mean it, and so I think that you definitely. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face. Troy can. I can play this video and you can hear from Troy or whatever. But it's nothing like you going and experiencing it for yourself. You know. But like I said, they are very welcoming. They're very inviting, and my dad loved it. He's a people person. People was coming up to him, striking up conversations with him. And he loved it. So Come on, internet. It's just not being my friend. I don't know if it's going to continue acting right for me or not. Let's see if I skip to the cost of living, because
Are you okay? You
Right.
sure you want to be here? This is Zinneman. You
Right.
shouldn't be out here at 3 a.m.
Right.
And I felt like that's different than other countries, because other countries, they want you to retire there just for your money.
Right.
But Kenya, it's like they want you to basically become a Kenyan.
Mm-hmm.
Like they embrace you fully. And for people who come in here, like, is there a big expat community, big retirement community here?
Yeah,
mean,
I was going to feed it
Ask
forward,
me that question after.
but I want to let him, I want to play it so you guys can hear that there is a good amount of Black folks over in Kenya from the States. It's not just Ghana. You know, I know a lot of people know about Ghana because they did the year of return, but Kenya's got a good amount of us over there as well. And we actually connected with the Mohammeds with their channel as the residential tourists when we went back in April. And we had a blast, and we actually all met up. A bunch of us met up at the skating rink. Skating rink looked just like here in the States, and everything. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Black folks that are moving over there, and it's awesome.
After I've put something on top of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a beautiful example. Kibera is one of the largest slums in Africa. The U.S. Embassy would tell you, don't go there. I started a basketball program like 10 years ago, and we had a tournament. Me and the guy who started Java Java's like Kenya's Starbucks. He's actually a white guy from California, but he gets invited to the picnic because he's cool, brother.
Just a little something about Java. Their food is great. It's better than Starbucks because they not only have all the different coffees and stuff like that. They actually have a full menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as different desserts and stuff. And I had gotten there. We went there and we got their breakfast, my dad and I. And then when I went the first time back in April, my husband and I, we went there in the evening. And because I, wanted a dessert or whatever, and I got their ice cream with the chocolate chip cookies, and it tastes so freaking good. The ice cream tastes like on the level of like a Cold Stone's Creamery or something like that. It was really, really good. And then of course, they have all the different coffees and frappuccinos and all that type of stuff. And then they have the different teas and stuff as well. So to me, their Java's is better than Starbucks.
Like cool, unbelievable person. He and I started a basketball foundation where we would go into the hoods and teach kids how to play basketball, and then get them into take them out of the hood and get them into private schools in Kenya to play basketball. So we were invited to this tournament in Kibera, and as I said, it's the largest slum possibly in Africa. It's definitely the largest slum in East Africa. So he talked to his security team, and his security team said no. And then I went and I talked to some of my friends at the U.S. Embassy, and then I talked to some of my Black Kenyan friends that worked at this agency where I was working at, and everybody said, no, don't go. So I called Kevin up, and I love this brother. I was like, yo, Kev, my people saying don't go. He's like, yeah, my people saying don't go too. I was like, but you know what that means, right? He's like, yeah, we going. And I was like, yes. I was like, that's why I love your ass. Dude, I've been to Kibera damn near like 30 times, and have never had a problem. Never had a problem. People invite me into their homes. The vibe is cool, and like I said, and I've said this many a time, and this is just a rule of thumb for traveling around the world, period, not just traveling in Kenya. as long as you don't bring that nasty American attitude, like, oh, we're the best, and why do you do this, and and got 50 million dumbass questions on why things might be different. As long as you go with the flow.
I'm just going to skip past it. I mean, I think you guys kind of get the point. I 100% agree with them. I already touched on this. At the end of the day, life is what you make it. And if you have a negative disposition, if you are a Debbie Downer, if you always see the cup as half empty, then you're going to have a miserable, you're going to continue, if that is your disposition, you're going to continue to have a miserable disposition, and you're not going to enjoy all of life's wonders and stuff like that. And you could have a miserable life right here in the States if that's the case. So, you definitely want to really do some healing from your trauma. All of us suffer from, trauma, and because our ancestors never got any type of counseling or any support or anything like that. And so that trauma is passed down from one generation to the next, and it's continuous, especially with, it just seems like, they have no problems, the mainstream media, they have no problems with broadcasting when we're, killed in the streets or killed in our homes or whatever. They have no problems with broadcasting that, on a loop on the media. So it's re-traumatizing us all over again constantly. All the negative movies and TV shows and negative music and all that, that just continuously adds to our trauma. And if you take that over there with you without doing some healing and recognizing it for what it is, then you're going to have a hard time adjusting. And it's not their job to adjust to us. It's our job to adjust to the way they do things over there. Um, a lot of things they do is very, very much similar or the same as what we do here, but there are some cultural differences, and you have to learn that and respect that. Just like, when people come over here to the States, we want them to learn and assimilate into the American culture. Um, and they can still maintain their culture, and there's nothing wrong with, if you decide to move over there to maintain some of our, African American culture or Black culture, or whatever you call yourself. That's fine, but also just be respectful of their culture and the way they do things.
Hitting a club or two on the weekends.
Yeah.
Traveling to the coast, for a weekend, long weekends, stuff like that. Just being able to do what you want to do. Nice. Kenya ain't cheap. So a lot of people feel like, I'm going to Africa, it's going to be cheap. I'll be able to do everything for very little money. Nah, there's certain things here that are cheap.
Yeah.
And then there's certain things that are mid-range costs, the same thing you would cost and pay for. And I always keep on saying, like a Raleigh or Charlotte, like somewhere in between there, in regards to the cost of living factor. Because when I go, and now I have my mom, but when I go to the supermarket, but I'm a foodie, and I buy things that are top quality, so I spend monthly on food $300 to $400 a month. But now it's with me and my mom, so it's like more around $400.
Yeah.
But when it was just me, supermarket shopping, toiletries, groceries, all that kind of stuff, $300.
Yeah.
At the supermarket.
In regards to, I want to elaborate a little bit more, and he's going to get into it a little bit more too, on the cost of living. I would say almost everything is a lot less expensive there. except for, I would say, um, purchasing a vehicle and gasoline. Gasoline over there, they call it petro, is it's a lot more expensive. They also measure in liters versus gallons, so you have to do the conversion to try to get some, apples to apples comparison. But I'll just say this: our project manager, um, he has a Land Rover, and it costs over $75, I think, on average to fill up his Land Rover. Whereas in the States, that would probably be closer to around $60, I would think. 50, $60, depending on where you live, obviously, in the States. Because, like, California, I think they're over $5 a gallon. Um, Here where I live in Louisiana, I put in mid-grade into my car. I have a Lincoln Corsair. And so I use mid-grain, um, not mid-grain, or mid-grade, sorry, gas in my car. And our gas is around, in the low twos a gallon, the mid to low twos. So I think it's around 250 something, 260 something, something like that a gallon. And so it probably cost me about mm, 35, $40 to fill my car up. I try to make a point, and not, I shouldn't say never, but I try to make an effort to not let my gas get down to, close to empty, or, for the most part, um, maybe three-quarters of a tank before I go fill it up. And I typically go to Albertson's gas station because I accumulate the points, and then that takes off. Like, the last time I filled it up, I think I was able to get 80 cents off per gallon because, I accumulate the points and stuff from shopping in the store. And so I only paid like $2 a gallon for gas when I filled my car up a few days ago before we went down to New Orleans for New Year's. Um, so it was only like at $2 a gallon. I think it was only about maybe 25 to $30 at the most to fill my car up. Whereas if I was in Kenya, it would probably be double that. So, gas is way more expensive there. I don't know why, but it is. And then I would say uh, the other thing that I noticed that was way more expensive, like I said, is the cost of vehicles. They do have a lot of people there with a lot of nice vehicles. Don't get me wrong, but they're although they have M-Pesa, which is an app that you download to your phone, but you got to have a Kenyan phone number. You download it to your phone, and then you can go to any, like, retail outlet store or whatever, almost like a Western Union kind of thing. And then they add money to your M-Pesa account. And that's how most people pay for things. Most Kenyans pay for things. It's rare for them to pay with actual Kenya shillings, which is their cash. But I would say, and they're predominantly a cash-based society, although that you can get financing, if you're living over there. It's just going to be very expensive. The interest rate is going to be double digits. So most people, they just save their money. If they're going to buy a car, they save their money, and then they pay cash for a car. A nice SUV that's probably, a few years old, 5, 6 years old or whatever, from what we were told, is going to run you around 30 grand, 20, 30 grand. Whereas you might be able to find a nice SUV, or my car isn't it's a SUV, but it's not a huge SUV like a Ford Explorer or something like that. It's more of on the smaller side of a SUV. And over there, if they don't sell LinkedIn's over there, but if they did, it probably, instead of it being like I think it was like 25,000 here, and it's 2 years old. Um, I just bought it last year. Uh, Over there, it would probably be like almost double that, you know. So cars are way more expensive over there than they are over here, and gasoline is more expensive over there than it is over here. But housing, utilities, um, transportation in terms of like Uber and or riding a chop chop, which is a bus, or I mean, or a matata, which is a bus over there. It's very inexpensive. Like a Uber ride here that maybe would cost, if you're going a good, you know, decent distance or whatever here, it might be cost you $50. Over there, that same Uber ride going that same distance, it's not even going to be half that, you know, maybe like 15 or something like that. So, yeah, for the most part, things are way less expensive over there. He just told you what he pays on groceries. Um, that's way cheaper than what we're paying here in the States. And I'm in a low cost of living state. So, you know, if you're in a high cost of living state like California or, you know, Oregon or Washington State or DC or Virginia or New York or, you know, Connecticut or anything like that, then you know your food prices are even worse than what mines are here in Louisiana. So I kind of disagree with him on that in terms of, you know, people thinking that they can't, that they'll be able to move there and live cheaply. Yeah, you can live a lot less expensively there. Absolutely, for sure. You know, and you can, or you can go way, way on the high end. Troy is more on the upper end, you know, scale. So don't freak out about the numbers that he's going to spout out here in a second.
Maybe a little.
That's actually not that bad.
Nah, because when I go to New York, dude,
Yeah.
I walk out a grocery store with 2 bags and spent damn near $300.
Facts.
Freaking crazy. This is crazy.
Like
and that's to last me for the week. 5 days maybe. You know, but still, you know, $300-400 is still $300-400. You know.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like your dollar stretch here about 5 times of what it would say in the States. But yeah, I want to have like your final words of why people should come to Kenya and retire here in Kenya from your opinion.
Mm-hmm. These words are going to be real short. Quality of life, and I'm talking to the black folks. You're a human being. You don't have to carry that weight that we carry in the States and other places around the world. Just easy, beautiful living, great weather. I personally believe, out of all the places I've been to, I don't know a better place in the world that has better weather. People don't realize, like, you don't need an AC. Out of all the places, like this nice apartment I stay in, it's one of the most high-end buildings in Nairobi. There's no AC. Unless you, like, you're somebody from another country, you just, I need AC. But you don't really need AC. I've never had, in 10 years, I've never stayed in a place that had AC. You don't need heating. You know, the weather's never too hot and it's never too cold here. Because people don't realize the elevation in Nairobi is higher than Denver. So it's really high. So there's always a constant breeze. And in the summertime, the hottest it might get, 90 and dry.
Yeah.
It's dry heat here. There's no humidity. And I'm talking about strictly Nairobi. I'm not talking about the coast. I'm not talking about any other place in Kenya. I'm talking about Nairobi. Best weather in the world. Never too hot, never too cold. And so in the winter months, it's in between 60, maybe 55 and 70. You know, 55 at night, 70 in the day, which is rainy season more so. Summer months, November through March, April, 60 at night, 65 at night, maybe on a hot night, 90 dry in a day. Can't beat that with a constant breeze.
Yeah.
You know, so best weather, quality.
Yeah, the weather is the ideal weather over there is underrated, man. Because like for real, the weather is great over there. That's one of the things I hate about where I live at here in Louisiana, the South, is that it's humid most of the time, and there's no water in sight. I don't mind it being humid if there was a freaking ocean, and in walking distance or something. But it's just humid and hot uh, most of the time here for no freaking reason. Although right now it's winter time, so the temperatures are more on the lower side. But because of the humidity, um, it's rarely where to me that it's just like cold to where I need to grab my heavy leather coat or something like that. And it's very similar in is a different story. Mombasa, it was extremely humid because it's right there on the Indian Ocean. So it's extremely humid and disgustingly hot in Mombasa. But Nairobi, the weather is great. It's very similar. I'll tell you this: the weather in Nairobi is very similar to, say, like the Bay Area in California. It's a area, and if that makes any sense to you.
Quality of life, being a human, you can't beat that. And it's safe.
Yeah, you can't beat
And
that.
it's dope shit here.
A lot of dope.
Tons of restaurants. A lot of places you go to, especially on this continent, there'll be like 5 really good restaurants for an expat to go to, maybe 3 expat type of hotels to stay, 5 clubs maybe that you could go to as an expat that you would feel safe and enjoy. Here, just numerous. I haven't even been to all the dope restaurants.
Yeah. It feels like it's unlimited, honestly. Like,
and there's always new spots opening up. There's damn near about 15 dope hotels you can stay at. And there's hundreds of really nice Airbnbs, for you to stay at. Tons of clubs, tons of bars, tons of restaurants, lounges. If you like cigars, there's cigar bars. There's all kinds of stuff here. Like, enough where you will never get bored going to the same place all the time.
Yeah.
So,
yes, there is a ton of stuff to do in Kenya. Because I've only been twice. I've only scratched the surface with a few places that I've had the opportunity to go to. Like you said, tons of lounges, tons of bars. It is truly a 24/7 city, even more so than Las Vegas, if you can believe that. I mean, literally, they still had some grocery stores open 24/7 there. Bars and lounges open, all day, all night long. And they love our culture, Black American culture. So you're always going to see a lot of hip hop and old school R&B being played at a lot of the restaurants and lounges. Their matatus, which is their buses, they have a lot of our heroes and sheroes on them. The Airbnb we stayed at, my dad and I, just right down the street was a little corner liquor store. It was called Biggie Smalls Liquors. So they really look up to us and they really admire our culture. Um, and so, yeah, so I mean, there's tons of stuff to do. Um, Besides just bars and lounges and clubs and stuff, they also have, of course, they have some of the best safaris. Um, they have a lot of shopping centers and huge shopping malls. Um, the shopping malls have full-fledged grocery stores in them, whereas our malls in the States are pretty much dying out. They also have horseback riding. They have uh, whitewater rafting. Um, they have camping, hiking, biking. I mean, they have a ton of stuff to do there. Nairobi is a huge city. It's over 5 million people. But then they have their different neighborhoods, like Westlands, Kililashwa, um, Karen, Naruban. I'm probably not saying it right. Um, where we're building our place at, that's in Kadojo County. So they have all these different areas, and there's tons of stuff to do on each side of town in these different areas. Tons of shopping, tons of lounges and bars, and all that kind of stuff. They, like I said, they have the skating. Right, we went to that. Um, they have they have a theater where if you're into going to see plays and stuff like that, they have that. So I mean, pretty much anything that you want to do or that you're used to doing, they have golf. You can go golfing. All that type of stuff. So they have it all pretty much. You will not get bored if you go, want a vacation over in Nairobi, or if you decide, like we have decided, to relocate there. You're not going to get bored. There's tons of stuff to do. And I think I might have skipped past where he gave some numbers, but he, basically said if you want to live real high end, in a beautiful apartment or condo or whatever, like what he's doing. There's another video on, I think it's Austin Holloman's channel, where he does a tour with him of his place and stuff. And it's a really nice place. Way too much space for just him, one person, and in my opinion. But nonetheless, that's his lifestyle, and that's what he likes and enjoys, and that's fine. But if you wanted to live a high end lifestyle, like you would, or in, say, New York City, a major city. Of course, New York City, I think, has probably got almost twice the amount of people that Nairobi has. But let's just say, you was a multimillionaire, because that's what it would take to be able to live in New York City in a, upper echelon apartment or whatever, overlooking the city or whatever. You'd have to be, a millionaire to be able to afford it, something like that in New York City. Whereas in Nairobi, you ain't got to be a millionaire to be able to afford something like that. If you've got, from what Troy says, $5,000 to $6,000 a month coming in income, then you could afford to live in a very nice apartment, 3-4 bedroom apartment probably, and have a chef and a housekeeper, and all that stuff. Whereas in the States, you're gonna have to be a millionaire to be able to afford that type of lifestyle in a big state in a major city, or either have bought your house or your condo years and years and years and years and years ago, when the prices were more affordable. But in Kenya, you can do that, and you don't have to be a millionaire to be able to do it. So, or you can do like what we're doing, and we're building a mini resort, A-frame style cottages. They're going to have 6 cottages plus our house, plus our grounds manager will live on site. Hopefully it'll be a couple. So him and his wife, he'll be the grounds manager. The wife will be doing the housekeeping, and we'll probably have one other housekeeper, and then a security guard to man the security booth of our property. And when it's all said and done, it's between the cost of the land and the build out and everything. I haven't gotten the quotes yet from the contractor, so I'm just kind of speculating. But I'm thinking probably somewhere around 400,000 is what it's probably going to take. And our house is going to be anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000 square feet. The cottages that we'll be doing Airbnb in, those will be around 800 square feet. So, you can't beat that with a stick. 400,000 for all of that. you know, and then we won't have any. It'll be off grid, so we won't have any utility expenses outside of Wi-Fi, and and that's about it, because we'll have a borehole, and we'll have solar, we'll have backup generators and all of that. So we won't really be paying anything for utilities. There's no property tax at this time, so we won't have that issue. We'll probably get homeowners insurance if they have something like that, just for our own protection, because we are going to be having it as a business as well. But other than that, our actual living costs is going to be hardly nothing. I would say less than $1,000, because we'll still have our property here in the States, so we'll still have those costs and stuff like that. That's why I say less than $1,000. And so yeah, you can live extremely well for very little in comparison to what we are used to over there. $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. That's a lot of money over there to the average Kenyan. But to us in America, even in my state, which is traditionally a low cost of living state, if you only got a couple $1,000s a month and you're having to pay rent and stuff like that, you're just barely making it. But you can live well in the South too, here in the States, if you don't have the housing costs. If if your rent is very little, or if you have a house and it's paid off, but then you're still going to get hit with the property taxes, and more so the homeowners insurance more than anything, because you can, in Louisiana, you can get a homestead, and so up to 75,000 you don't pay tax on, as terms of the value of your home. But it's the homeowners insurance that just kills you here. And then all the other insurances, and then, the cost of food and the cost of everything just kills you here. Over there, you got a couple $1,000s a month coming in. You can live very well in a nice area, a nice apartment or condo or whatever. Even if you're renting, you can still live very well on a couple $1,000s a month. Two people can live very good on a couple $1,000s a month. And you still be able to go out and do things. You will be able to go out and, go out to eat, at least once a week, maybe even more than that, maybe even a couple times a week. You'd be able to go out to eat, you and your significant other or whatever. And the one thing that they don't have over there that we do have here is public education. It does cost. So if you are wanting to move over there and you have, school age children, you do have to budget and factor that in, unless you're going to have them do an online program or something like that. But then to me, that kind of defeats the purpose to some extent. If my kids were still small, I would want them to go to a school there, maybe even probably an international school, whatever. And I would want them to be in that environment so they can get the full experience and really be able to learn Swahili and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to do that if you're not completely submersed in it, all the time on a regular basis. So you do have to budget that in if you have small children, their school fees, because they don't have free public education over there. Okay, so let's just wrap it up with let Troy wrap it up.
That's why it's a great place to retire.
Yeah.
And then you have the coast. Then you got places like Navasha, where like I have friends that have like weekend houses there, you know, where it's like country living, by a lake, where you eating fresh fish every day, living kind of like a country lifestyle. Like, then you got the safaris, and then there's all these other towns and places around Kenya that you can go to get different experiences. This is a plethora, great word, plethora of beautiful things to do in this country where you can't be bored and you'll never get tired of doing the same things.
Yeah, that is a great point. And if you need help getting set up in Kenya, there's going to be a link.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm just going to end it there. Like I said, there is a ton of things to do there, for if you're single or if you are married with children, with small children. They're Kenya's very family oriented. And so a lot of the shopping centers and malls and stuff like that, they have tons of stuff for kids to do. Like this, we went to the Two Rivers Mall a couple times when the first time we went back in April. And in one of the restaurants, which the food was great, they had those little cars for kids to ride around in. My parents had bought my oldest daughter one when she was a little girl, and um, they had those in the restaurant for the kids to ride around in for free. That's how family oriented they are. I mean, they make McDonald's little playground look like nothing compared to the type of playgrounds and stuff like that they have in a lot of the malls and stuff like that. So they got tons of stuff for kids to do, from small kids, to teenagers and everything in between. Very, very, very family oriented. Like I said, if you are if it's just two people, you can live very well on a few $1,000s a month. $2,000 to $3,000 a month. You can live good. You can live great if you say you got $5,000-$6,000 a month. Then you living real well. Whereas in the United States, $5,000 or $6,000 a month, you're just existing. And then depending on where you live, you might even be struggling, because after Uncle Sam takes his cut from your paycheck, and then you barely have enough to pay to keep a roof over your head and utilities and cell phone bill and all that type of stuff. Over there, it, like I said, is way more affordable. One expat told us that they're a family of two children, teenagers, plus the husband, wife, and then his mother. And they're in I think a 4-bedroom apartment. It's over 2,000 square feet. Their rent is like $1,000. Utilities is only maybe around $40 a month or something like that. Like cheap as hell. Wi-Fi is super cheap. Your cell phone is super cheap over there in terms of the service. The actual phone in and of itself, their phone prices are just like ours. You can get a real cheap phone, Android phone, or you can get an iPhone over there, and it costs about the same, maybe more or a little bit more. It's about the same, I think the iPhones are over there. So, but the service, for the service, Safaricom is who they have, and it's way cheaper versus AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or whatever over here in the States. Well, yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much it. I think that's enough right there. Food is better, quality, so you got a better quality of life. It's a safe country. It's modern. Of course, they have their rural areas as well, just like we do here in the States. Um, the people are great. There's tons of stuff to do that don't really cost a ton of money. It's not going to break the bank for you to be able to um, go out and do stuff with your significant other, or in your if you have kids or whatever, or even just yourself by yourself. If you're single, um, you can actually, if you've got income coming in um, from the States, you can actually live a soft life and actually enjoy life and not have to focus so much on trying to make a living like we have to do here in the States. You can actually catch your breath. And like Troy said, you're actually treated like a human being. Um, you're in the majority, and you actually get a taste of what it feels like to have privilege to a certain extent. We talk about white privilege here in the States. Well, over there, you do have a form of a black privilege, being an American. Um, and they're very welcoming, like I said, and they're genuine about it. Um, so, I mean, I don't know what else more that needs to be said, but those are all the reasons why we decided to relocate to Kenya, and we can't wait. So, you guys join the journey. Um, Stick around, watch our progress. I'm going to continue to post videos as we make progress on the building of our project over there. And if you like this streaming service, it wasn't the streaming service that was the problem with the internet going in and out. That's my internet here. And I've tried, this is the second internet company that I've tried, and it doesn't really, it's not any too much better than the other one that I had. So, but anyways, if you do like this streaming service,